most of the people are vegan right now, in the way that they think. I mean, almost all of the people wouldn't want to kill the animal themselves or watch how the animal is how they kill animals for their food. But there's still a big but there's still a big barrier between what we eat and what we see on the plate and what happens to the animals. So the only thing is to to connect the dots between what we eat and what happens to the animals. But already now, most of the people are vegan in the way they think.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. We all know that veganism is a growing trend, but it's time to talk strategically about it. And who's better than Omri Paz, the founder and CEO of Vegan Friendly? Omri has a law degree from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. In 2012, he founded Vegan Friendly, which is the leading vegan organization in Israel. Since it was established, Vegan Friendly launched many campaigns that reached millions of people, including the biggest animal rights march in history, massive billboards, vegan add-ons, a prime time, and the 10 million lecture. Welcome, Omri. Omri Paz, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Fine, great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for coming. Omri, you're one of the leading figures in the Israeli vegan scene, running an organization called Vegan Friendly. I don't believe I've had a vegan advocate yet on the show. We've done almost more than 500 episodes, and I'm really excited to talk about a trend that I have zero doubt that is going to take over the world sooner rather than later. I've been thinking a lot about what's going to impact the pace at which it'll impact the world. And I'm excited to pick your brain on your experience and what you're doing within the Israeli scene. So Omri, tell me a little bit about yourself and how do you get into the vegan scene in a leadership position?
Cool. So basically, everything started when I was 29. I was in my third year in law school in the Hebrew University. I was exposed to a graphic video of what happens in factory farming. And that changed my whole world at the same time, and became vegan and decided to be also an activist. I didn't exactly know what to do, but I was very determined to do whatever I can. I established Vegan Friendly 2012. And since then, what we're doing in the organization is trying, on one hand, to make veganism accessible as much as possible for people to become, for it to be easy for them to become vegan, and also raise awareness to what goes on in factory farming. And the organization originally was relatively small. It was basically only me the first 4 years. Now we have over 30 people on staff, and we also expanded to the UK last year. We have there a team of 4 people, and next year we'll probably expand to the States.
Wow. And so before we talk specifically about Vegan Friendly, give me a little bit of an overview about veganism in general. I think it's still important, but also where we are in terms of the trend today, both in Israel and globally.
Cool. So basically, when people say veganism, they can think about lots of different things. But for me, what it means is not hurting, exploiting, killing animals when we don't have to do it. It has an amazing benefit, obviously, for the animals, an amazing benefit for the planet, and also for our health. That's one thing. Second thing is, up until 2012, veganism almost didn't exist at all in Israel. Israel was one of the most un-vegan countries in the world. It had less than 1% of vegans. And now Israel is the most vegan country in the world. We have over 5%. So
Wow.
that's a 400% increase in just a couple of years. And and if you look at the vegan category in the supermarkets, it exploded every year, between 10 to 30% increase every year from 2012 to 2020. So that's the biggest growing category in the supermarket for almost a decade now.
Now, why is this? Why do we see such a huge surge in veganism, specifically also in Israel?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. What started everything was a lecture of Gary Yourofsky. It's called The Best Lecture That You'll Ever See, if you want to check it out on YouTube. And it got like almost about 2 million views in just 1 year. And we believe that it created about 100,000 vegans in a short period of time. So that kind of like kickstarted it. Also because Israel is a small country, then if you have 100,000 people, that's a percent of the population. So it's not like in the States that in order to increase the percentage, you need to get millions of people on board. That's one thing. Second thing is that Israel is a very small country and things travels really fast, especially through social media. At the time, Israel was one of the countries that used Facebook the most in the whole world. I think the average was about 4 hours a day. And when the activists and organizations started spreading viral videos about what goes on in factory farming, then that's when people decided to ditch eating animal protein, and that spread the message really really fast. And also, I think we have a mentality of people that are not afraid to to say whatever they think, even to people that they don't even know at all in the supermarket. And also, it's relatively easier to find vegan food in Israel because of the Mediterranean diet, and also because of the culture here. So the beginning point was relatively easy for people to get on board and become vegan, even though, as I mentioned, 2012 almost nobody was vegan in Israel.
Right. And so, obviously there's a lot of, I wouldn't say controversy, there's a lot of different conversations that are happening around meat eating in general, some with credible scientific information, a lot of it without. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I have no doubt that the world will become vegan altogether. I personally believe that there's going to be a lot of there's going to need to be a lot of economic and technological incentives that will push that forward. From your perspective, leading this organization and understanding strategically where we're headed, what do you think needs to happen in order for the world, as a world, not as a small population, but as the entire population, to make this big shift?
Well, I think that I don't know if it. I mean, there are a couple of options. One option is that it will continue to grow gradually until we get to this critical mass point between which we believe is about between 10 and 15% of the population. There are studies that show that social change occurs very fast once you pass the tipping point, which, as I mentioned, is about 10 to 50% of the population. So that's one option. The second option is that we'll get a situation that's so bad with probably will be through the climate change that that things will be so bad that the countries will have to address this issue very seriously and start passing laws. Another option is the technology, obviously. If all of a sudden you have a lab meat or really advanced technology that allows you to have really a good vegan options, even if it's from a plant-based, and it becomes also very very cheap, then that's something that can accelerate the practice of people eating plant-based and not animal protein. So there are a few things that can happen. There's a good chance that they'll all happen in the same time. So I mean, basically, most of the people are vegan right now in the way that they think. I mean, almost all the people wouldn't want to kill the animal themselves or watch how the animal is how they kill animals for their food. But there's still a big barrier between what we eat and what we see on the plate and what happens to the animals. So the only thing is to to connect the dots between what we eat and what happens to the animals. But already now, most of the people are vegan in the way they think and their moral aspect.
And so I think that you're touching on a really interesting point. You're saying that, in essence, as human beings, ethically and morally, we are thinking vegan, yet our consumer behavior, which a lot of it is also shaped through media advertisements, through social expectations, through economic incentives, that's the part where there is this disconnection. And what you're actually saying is that, we actually need to go to have a world which allows us to just take our consciousness and take our ethics and morals and just translate it into our daily life, right?
Yeah, exactly what you said.
And I think that's really interesting because I'm thinking a lot about it from a strategic economic perspective. When you're talking about the human body or the lifestyle that we have, what do we know today about alternatives to meat, the need for meat, the lack of need for meat? Obviously, there's a lot of conversation about it.
Yeah, well, for me, the most important point is that humans don't have to eat meat to be healthy. They can be healthy eating plant-based diet. And as soon as you understand that point, which is the most important point, then you understand that eating meat is a choice. It's a choice that you make, that you can eat meat and you also can decide not to eat meat. So it's not something that you have to do in order to be healthy. And once you understand that, I mean, if a plant-based diet would make me sick, then there's a good chance I wouldn't be vegan. But since I don't have to do it, then I choose to buy and consume products that don't cause suffering and destroy the planet when I can choose something that doesn't. So for me, it's that simple.
Right. No, that makes sense. Now, vegan friendly as a movement. So you studied law at the Hebrew University and you decided to dedicate the last 9 years or so to this great movement. What is your sort of strategy within Israel to go and expand it? You're creating viral campaigns. You have so many people working with you on this great mission. What is your strategy as a leader as you're pushing forward this trend?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have two aspects that we concentrate on. One is making veganism accessible, which that's basically the how to become vegan, how to stay vegan, and obviously our certification on products and businesses. We have huge events like we had a Vegan Fest 2019. About 50,000 people came to the event, and this year we're supposed to have about 100,000 people. Unless the corona jumps in and destroys another event. And on the other hand, we try to work on raising awareness through the campaigns, just like the 10 million lecture that we just launched last month, and the TV ad that I'm sure that you've heard of, Extra Fresh. And that's raising awareness. That's the why. Why should I taste the plant-based hamburger when I have the real hamburger in front of me? And we believe as a strategy that we need to work on both of them at the same time, because if we only work on expanding the vegan options, but you don't have any demand, then nobody will buy it and it will get off the menu. And on the other hand, if we only work on raising awareness and we have lots of people wanting to become vegan but they won't have any options, that will also be very difficult for them, and that also won't work. So we believe that we need to work on both of the things at the same time, simultaneously. And we also believe that in order to, even though we're a nonprofit organization, we try to think as a company or as a startup, high tech, in a way that we try to build win-win business models that will benefit everybody. So, for example, if I was a nonprofit organization in the States, for example, because I know that they do it, and I wanted to add vegan options, I would probably go to a donor and tell them, I want to add 100 vegan options in a couple of restaurants. I would like for you to donate a certain amount of money. And then of the year, I go back to the donor and show him all the amazing stuff that we've done. And each year ask from him again for resources to continue our project. But what we do in Vegan Friendly is try to think of a symbolic sum that the businesses will pay the organization, in which in exchange, will advertise that they have vegan options. And then everybody benefits. The businesses get new customers. We get money to sustain our project, and obviously the vegans enjoy the project because they know about more vegan options and they have more vegan options. And then obviously more people can consume vegan options and less animal protein products. So that's an example of a win-win ecosystem that we created, which doesn't usually happen in nonprofit organizations. And we do the same thing also with other projects. In the events, we have sponsors and vendors certifying products, the same idea. And even in the donations, by the way, usually organizations, when they want to have donations from followers, They just tell them, okay, please donate money and we'll do really good things with the money. And in Vegan Friendly, what we did is we established this concept that's called Vegan Active. The way it works is we encourage vegans to donate a monthly donation. Their donation goes directly to a campaign that they believe in, so they can choose where their money goes to. And in exchange, they get benefits and discounts in almost all of the businesses that we certify as vegan friendly. So they can donate $10, $15, $20 a month and actually save more money than what they donate. And this concept was extremely successful. We have now more than 6,000 donors that donate directly to life-changing projects.
And do you see a shift as you're talking to a lot of the organizations that are producing these products for profit, obviously? Is there a shift in the conversation, their willingness to consider, they're maybe starting to think about it themselves, or is it still more in the shift of the consumer that is becoming more conscious?
Yeah, so it's interesting that in 2012, the demand was much higher than the supply. And with time, especially the big companies, launched more and more vegan products, mostly vegan cheese and vegan meat and tofu. And now we're seeing that, especially as I mentioned, the big companies are spending a much bigger budget on launching vegan products, especially like Nuva and Nestle, Unilever, Diplomat, also importing lots of vegan products abroad. And that's mostly because their profit on the vegan products is so much higher than what they're getting from the animal products. So for example, take milk, a carton of milk. I think that they profit between 5 to 10 times more on a carton of soy milk
Really?
than cow's milk. Yeah, because think about it, their profit is maybe 3 to 4%.
Unbelievable.
Because all the things that they need to do, and they have the cow, and they have the antibiotics that they need to put in, and to feed the cow, and to, the whole thing. And with the soy milk, what do you have in a carton of soy milk? You have 92% water. You have 7% of soy, which is extremely cheap, and salt, and maybe a couple more ingredients. But that's it basically. And they're also enjoying the fact that at the moment, the vegan population is financially a stronger population, so they can also charge a higher amount. So it's much more profitable for them. And there are a couple of years where they made money in the dairy category because of the plant-based cheese and milk, not because of the regular cheese and milk. So everybody knows that it's going towards there, and we also have a really strong connection with those companies, and we talk to them on a weekly basis. And they know that the future is going there. It's already there. And so now at the moment, it's kind of like a race of what company can launch more vegan products. And it's amazing to see. I never dreamed 5, 6, 7 years ago that I'll see commercials on television promoting vegan products from Nuva and from Strauss and Nestle. Billboards, bus stations, it's all over. And that's something that wasn't up until 2-3 years ago.
Well, I think Omri, a lot of this thanks to you, and so for me it's really interesting to see the trend, and I'm moving towards that trend as well. Now I have a few last questions, not about veganism, but more about you before I let you go. I know that you have a few more interviews to do. Take me back to your childhood, before law school, and what really fascinates you as a kid? What really drives your curiosity?
Yeah, I think I was obsessed growing up, and with what's right and what's not right, finding justice, and that's something I think that hit base when I was exposed to factory farming. The biggest injustice thing that can happen in the world, killing 150 billion animals, destroying the planet, our health. So that's something as a child that definitely resonated with me, becoming vegan and establishing vegan friendly.
Right. And what inspires you today? So as you go about your day to day?
Couple of things. First of all, my team. I see amazing people that wake up every morning and just give everything they have. And just sometimes I look at them from the side and I think to myself, what amazing people. And so they inspire me. And also, I still watch graphic videos of what goes on in factory farming, reminding myself every day the suffering that animals go through. And also, on a personal note, I would like to be one of the people that could make a change in this world. I mean, this is something that I've worked really hard for the last 10, 12 years. But to do a good change in the world, not a capitalist change. So though I'm still working really hard to get there to be somebody that can make a difference.
I love it. And the last question, Omri, 3 words you would use to describe yourself.
Persistent, stubborn, and somebody that works really, really hard, I guess.
Omri, toda rabba. Thank you for the great work that you're doing. It's an important mission. We're heading there and you're helping support it. So thank you very, very much. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.